Welcome to session 5, and as you can see, I've called this the apostolic evangelist. And the Bible verse for this one in the book that I'm using is do the work of an evangelist, fulfill your ministry. And I've honestly come to really love evangelists in recent years. They've become a huge part of my personal life and ministry, and I just love being around them. And in many respects, they've operated as sent ones, probably more than anyone else. And the missionary who leaves one country and goes to another, or the evangelist who is sent out, there really is that sense. But one of the things that I've been very involved with recently is wanting to make sure that they know that they have a home base to be sent from. And, they're wonderful people, evangelists. They've often got some pretty challenging stuff in their past. Not all of them, obviously. One of my closest friends, something like 12 years ago, was homeless, a drug addict, depressed, suicidal, and living on the streets of Liverpool. He's one of my closest friends today. That kind of background, can create some challenges to finding home and to being really a part of the home. And I believe that one of the most important things for any evangelist is to really have a home base, a home family, a home church that they're sent out from. And once again, the evangelist's job, like the apostle's job, is to equip the saints to be apostolic. The prophet's job is to equip the saints to be prophetic, and I would add, create the prophetic culture. And the evangelist's job to equip the saints to be evangelistic, and again, to create the evangelistic culture in which we can all grow to be more passionate about sharing the good news. And, so I do know that some evangelists have struggled to find home, and it's really important that they find that. And I love the story of the prodigal son. Many of you will know how much I love that story. And I've always viewed the returning boy as the returning evangelist. I think he has to be, because I've never met anybody who found Jesus in the gutter who didn't want to tell other people about the Jesus that rescued them from the pit, from the gutter, from the drug den, from the hopelessness, from the despair. And so for me, that boy is the returning evangelist, and he gets welcomed by the Father with the robe that says you're worthy, with the ring that says I trust you, and with the sandal, the symbol of sonship, that says you're my son, and of course the celebration, the barbecue that he gets to share in and participate in. And I do believe that it's important that evangelists do experience that so that they can find home, and then they can be sent out. It's kind of like a post-prodigal house, that they're sent out knowing that they've got home to go home to. I think one of the things that the evangelist, though, can give us, and it's very important aspect, is to teach us something. There's a lesson I learned. I get around the evangelists, and they've usually got a dramatic salvation story. So many of them do, and it's wonderful. I love listening to them. But we can sometimes think that because it's dramatic, it's radical, and that we can then end up thinking that our maybe simpler story of meeting Jesus is less radical. Well, here's the thing. I believe that we're all radically saved, even if you don't have a dramatic salvation story. And I think it's really important that we really recognize that. I am radically saved. I am saved from death to life, from hell to heaven, from lack to abundance. That's what I'm saved from, and that is radical. And of course, all of us need to be as well positioned in family, a place where we belong, where we're seen, known, loved, and valued. And the evangelist in an apostolic culture will be valued. They'll be valued because they're one of the keys to the growth that the apostle desires. The apostle is desiring the increase of his government. And of course, we see in the Acts of the Apostles, the number of times, and this number were added daily to the apostolic, this young, embryonic apostolic church in the Acts of the Apostles. And so it's vital. We need the evangelists. I do personally believe it is the day of the evangelist. And as we watch around the world, so much is happening. And it's really vital. I want to say this, though. The apostolic evangelist will have a big picture. They'll embrace the church and the kingdom. They'll embrace winning souls and discipling whilst experiencing and contributing to home. They're not the Lone Rangers. The apostolic evangelist has found home, is a part of family, is a part of team. And one of the keys, and we'll look at this, and of course there's a lot of overlap in what I'm teaching, but we'll look as well at discipleship. And it's a key. The evangelist is linked to discipleship, of equipping and training the new saints for the work of ministry. We need evangelists, not just to build large churches, though that may happen, but to expand the influence of King Jesus everywhere they go. And I do believe it's their time. And I love being around them. I love their passion for the gospel. And it gets a bit contagious, carrying the good news. In a month or so's time, I'll have the privilege of speaking at the wedding of 2 young evangelists who are getting married. What a great privilege. And I'll be talking there about how beautiful are the feet of him who brings good news. I want to encourage you to be a good news carrier. It doesn't always mean that you're going to have the 3-point gospel, but just to share the good news, to be a carrier of good news. I'd encourage you, become addicted to good news, to the testimony, to the power of the testimony. It's a vital part of your divine purpose to, at any moment in time, be able to access quickly a story of the good news of something that God has done. And it might not be in your life. Even just this morning, I got a text just came through about the miracle of childbirth to a couple that couldn't have children. That's good news. And that's what the evangelist is, the carrier of good news, the conveyor of good news, the declarer of good news, the sharer of good news, and of course, ultimately, the goodest news, if I can use that phrase, of all, is the sending of Jesus. John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever believed in him should not perish, but have everlasting eternal life. That's good news. And we need the evangelists. And I want to encourage you, get around some evangelists. They're a very special breed, a wonderful breed. I do love being around them so much, and I'd encourage you to do that too. Get around some good news. And incidentally, it's almost an aside, but whatever organization you lead, whether it's Christian or otherwise, if you start every meeting, staff meeting, team meeting, public meeting with good news, you'll change the culture of your organization. That's what evangelists do. Evangelists bring good news, and that changes the culture. And it's a key to creating the fertile ground in which more good stuff can happen. I don't believe that we're called to repeat bad news. In fact, I believe that we're called to talk about the goodness of God. So you might want to review the story of the prodigal son with the lens of the returning evangelist. It's a fun way to look at it. Have a look at what stands out to you. Maybe you've been tempted to view evangelists as radical because their testimony is radical, but just remind yourself that you've been radically saved. List those you describe as evangelists in your own church. What can you declare over them? Who do you know that's an evangelist? Start declaring over them and encouraging them as a part of the family that you're a part of. And reflect on your own story of salvation. And it's always an encouragement to me to remind myself of the way in which God met me at a moment that I needed him most. So thanks for being with me. Session 5, the Apostolic Evangelist. And join me tomorrow for what I'm calling the Supernatural Pastor. It's a really fun one. Thanks for listening. Bye.